Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the EU Wayback Machine. It's been a hot minute, and I apologize for that. Also, we have your cousin Eunice here saying hello. So, how everybody feel on this book?
I thought it
Good.
wasn't as good as the first book. It did have some good moments, some really
Agreed.
funny moments. I thought the humor was much better in this book, but the overall plot, especially the fact that it wasn't like totally resolved at the end of the book, left me a little frustrated. So I think that's why
Yeah,
it wasn't as good. There's a part on one of the planets where the Falcon's damaged and they're holding off like a stampede of wildlife that's trying
right.
to
Yeah,
attack the Falcon, and that part is way too long. It's like Chewie blasts some of they're like Minox or I forget what they are, and he tries to rig like a glider to
right.
shoot him down by air. That whole part was very bizarre. But anytime Han was in a bar or a restaurant, um, when he takes the public transportation off planet with Fiola, I love that part. I thought they worked really well together. Once again, Brian Dailey does a spectacular job nailing down Han's character.
I
Again, it's such a hard thing for him to do because the benefit of AC Crispin. I know I keep bringing her up, but they're kind of so interlaced. It's kind of hard not to do that. But she had, such a benefit of like she was kind of free, in a sense because she was making the origin story and then she was making all these additional things and connections in all of her stories. But here, and she's too was also kind of, because this is still before the movies, so she still is also kind of forced to not really transition his character, but there was more she could play with there. But Brian Daly, he only had episode 4, right? And he was directly told like you keep it. It's just more of the same, more of Han Solo. So even with that though, there's still things in here that I feel help kind of flesh out Han a little bit and little nice little sprinkles on top of a cake
Mhm.
to give a little bit more nuance. And then also just a lot more of you like the movie. Well, here's more of that guy in book form for you. And I think it was a beautiful balance he pulls with that.
Yeah, it was an interesting take on a Star Wars book. At times when I was reading this, I felt like I was reading another type of fiction, not necessarily Star Wars. It could be
Yeah,
Western, it could be pirates. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
Brian Daly does a great job writing a book that is Star Wars and has the Star Wars characters, but doesn't necessarily have to feel like the scenes and sites that were set out in the movies. And that's not really a
right,
bad thing. That's a good thing.
yeah,
He's expanding it in a way
yeah.
that a lot of other authors later on were able to go off in different directions and expand on that quite a bit.
I think that's kind of the beauty of the EU and Star Wars as a whole, is that there is a distinct feel that you kind of feel whenever you watch the movies, but it's also a wide enough universe, kind of like Marvel and DC in a sense, where you can kind of just have completely different tones and vibes for different stories and have that still exist in the same world and feel like that makes sense. Like this is the same world where the Ewoks adventures in the 80s happen, and I'm able to reconcile that and say that that's the same world, just different
you can have
vibes, different
you can have
folks.
both Superman and also Jonah Hex.
Right,
Let me
yeah.
throw this off. Anyway, sorry. Um, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I agree with Scott. It wasn't as good as the first one. This one
Yes.
had a lot of stuff that I would have cut. Um, again,
I
they split Chewie and Han for I feel like a lot less time this time, which was nice. But um, don't. We did that the first time. Don't do that again. Especially don't do it with this other character, Spree.
The annoying guy.
right.
Yeah, him. Just
Yes.
get rid of him. Um, but like I did, I I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I do think it did feel a little bit just like another Han Solo adventure, which I know
Yeah,
this is the template. This is the template for Han Solo adventures. It's still like there's another one. Again, this is another like
yeah,
I'm coming at this from reading all this other stuff, AC Crispin, Death Troopers, I guess, whatever, all this other stuff that has Han and has him going on these adventures. So I feel like I do need to give some leeway to this book. But even all that aside, it is still good. It is still enjoyable. I do still like it. As you guys said, the writing for Han is on point.
Yes.
The humor is a lot better. It is funnier this time. Bollocks and Blue Max are a lot of fun. Again, they're a nice addition to the cast to keep things fresh in comparison to the movies. I mean, what else? The plot. It's not great. It wasn't really what I was looking for. But at the same time, it also introduced fun characters like Galandro, who I do appreciate. I would say to boil my thoughts down, it is good, but it had too many tangents. It had too many other things. Like when they went to go do the duel or whatever with the guy just get rid of all that.
I thought the duel set up really well, and then the guy apologized and there wasn't a duel. They had everybody set up. They had the judge, they had the seconds, they had the medic, surgeon, ready to go. You think you're about to see a gunfight, and then I don't know if Galandro, I guess it was resolved later on where they wanted to try to investigate Han to see if he was part of the slaver ring, and maybe that's why Galandro didn't face off against Han. But he just apologized and walks away, and then shoots some of the targets, proving that he could have won the duel had it occurred. And it's okay, I was left.
It was almost cool. It was almost really good, but then it just ended up being a waste of my time, which is frustrating. Again, and I don't want to sound like I'm hating on the book, because it's good, but it's not as good.
Could have been better with a little bit of direction and some editorial cleaning up. I think it could have been a lot better.
This book needed one more draft, and I think it would have been pretty good. Maybe two.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if the time constraints or anything were either. It's hard to know with licensed material.
I just as a throwaway thing, yesterday was the 46th anniversary of this book's release, at least according to Wikipedia. So was it yesterday or the 30th? That was also the 13-year anniversary since not 13-year. Wait, is it? Oh my god, it has been that long of Disney buying Star Wars. Yeah, I think so.
Coincidence. Almost perfect timing on this episode.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that this book is almost 50 years old. You don't think about it like that, but
Robert, what were your thoughts?
I had fun with it. I agree that it's not as good as the first one. I did think it was a little weird structurally, but yes, there was a lot of stuff in it that I enjoyed. The opening, for example, where Han accidentally starts a religion.
Sweet. Right. That was funny. I like that.
I wish they expanded more on that. And they had such a great idea at the very beginning. Obviously, they couldn't have the whole book sort of have to do with that plot. But the fact that there's these insects, Camerites, where they go to see these bootleg hollow movies that Han puts up, and he's trying to get away from smuggling, and it makes some honest business. But instead of seeing the movie as entertainment, these insects come in and they think there's a religious experience, and they're paying a tribute. They think they're paying a tribute to see these hollow movies. And then when Han changes it for the next season, or the hollow video wears out, I forget which, they start rioting. They destroy all the equipment, and then they almost kill Han and Chewie. They run them off world. So yeah, that was fun.
That was a great start. That was a great start to the book, I will say.
He was showing them, I think, a hollow documentary or something of an aquatic world, and he changed it to Love is Waiting.
Yeah, which was meant to be boring, but apparently they were so enveloped with it, they thought it was a religious experience or something like that. That was funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's it's nice to have a little bit of the whimsical humor as well amongst everything with because Han's, especially in the context of the whole EU, Han does not always have the easiest life, so it's nice to have a little bit of these breather moments in his life to have fun with. So
So Alex, this is your third time reading through this, or
third time.
third?
I already did a reread, so it's my
And
third
Scott,
time.
you've read this before, right?
I've read this a long time ago, probably 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago,
okay.
maybe 25. I thought I remember Fiol and Han being more of a thing, more of a couple than they actually were this time reading through. Like they were just kind of people along for the ride. They happened to cross paths, on the adventure. But I thought they had a history prior to me rereading this and jogging my memory.
Did either of you have opinions on this that changed with this reading, or just kind of?
It's kind of the same.
That's
well, a lot of people hold up this trilogy equal to AC Crispin's trilogy, sometimes even a little bit better. And
yeah, I don't think I can do that.
The only points where I think that might be true is the humor and the just little blips of certain scenes that maybe make it better at certain points. But overall, I don't think it's even close to AC Crispin's
I think
trilogy.
as a complete work of art, and I don't necessarily blame Brian Dailey. I think it's more just the constraints he had to work with, that it's kind of an inherently inferior product because of what he was allowed to do. But I will say, I do think like those splashes, those moments where it's absolutely brilliant. I'll reiterate again, there are certain moments throughout AC Crispin's trilogy where there are certain things with Han where it's not that I necessarily don't see Han doing it, but the way the lines are written and the way the scene goes, I don't necessarily see Harrison Ford being in that situation or saying those certain things. Whereas with Brian Dailey, I almost never feel that. I almost always feel like this is just Harrison Ford shoved into a book. And I think that's the difference. But the issue is that AC Crispin has the stronger plot, the stronger character stuff, and the more emotional stuff. Whereas this is like just an adventure that Han Solo's on, So I think that's the thing.
I agree.
So,
I do try to at least like put my opinion in perspective, being like this was the first thing that came out. This was kind of what was setting the template, and whatever. And it's hard to compare AC Crispin, who had like this whole history ready for her, whereas he was making up on his, and he's creating new things like the Victory Star Destroyer. It's not like this is like the biggest stuff in the world, but it's cool and it's interesting that he brought it in. But at the same time, I also have to be like real and be like, AC Crispin's I enjoy way more. I read the first AC Crispin book in one night. I started it at like 10 in the evening and I finished it at like 3 or 4 in the morning. It was I could not put
couldn't
it
stop
down.
at Elysia, huh?
I don't know what it was. It was just I was in love with it and I just kept going. The other two took a little bit longer, but not by much. It was like a couple days. But yeah, no, I love those books.
Well, I think the distinguishing
books come back up in New Jedi Order as well with like Elysia and everything.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the distinguishing difference is Brian Dailey's, particularly this book, sort of splits up into an A and a B plot with Chewbacca and Spray, and then Han and Fiola and the other. Han and Fiola kept my attention. The Chewbacca one, where they're fixing the Falcon or preventing it from getting damaged further, did not like that. And that's not the case in AC Crispin's trilogy. I think even the subplots with the villains and the Hutts and like all this extra stuff, I was interested in all of that.
Big time.
Here not so much, but you're right. Brian Dailey does mention a lot of things for the first time. So Victory class Star Destroyer. Now he says they're Victory ships that are destroyers, and they're under the control of the Corporate Sector Authority, which has an Imperial charter. So I guess it's not a stretch to say that these Victory class, the Victory destroyers are Star Destroyers, and they're the same ones that we see later. There's also swoop bikes, which are sort of speeder bikes with some better engines, more tricked out engines. There's disruptor pistols, which are used a lot in some of the Star Wars video games.
The swoop bikes, do they predate the speeder bikes? Was there anything in?
Yeah, I guess they do.
Was there anything in the first movie that it alludes to bikes?
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that, because I know they show up later on. There's this swoop bike gang in Shadows of the Empire,
right?
Yeah,
so they pick that up
90s,
later on. But yeah, this came out before.
And then if you're talking chronologically, you got the swoop gangs and KOTOR. So, you know,
those don't look anything like
nothing like it. But
those are probably my favorites. So that's but yeah, I think this might be the first time we see like a speeder bike in any context.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like Mos Eisley, if there was any like little like design in the background, but I don't think
I know
so.
there were speeders. There's like a really cool speeder design in like the Mos Eisley, not in in driving around
outside of it. Yeah,
but I don't think there's any bikes or anything. At least not in the real version. In the special edition version, I think they put like some cartoon frog on a bike or whatever. But that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's all they can think of. It's like I put some shit over there.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. It's
like
not
poetry.
Complete.
It rhymes. It looks bad.
Frog on the bike.
We can sell 4 billion action figures of him.
Anakin died for this.
You just see his back too. He's like driving away from you. Like,
I still bought the action figure. That's the worst part. All that power of the Force stuff. I want that. That's one. Anyway,
that's true. But yeah, so they have this Camerite riot, and they're driven off planet, and then Han and Chewie get an offer. It's an anonymous offer of a smuggling mission to the planet Lore, and the cargo turns out to be slaves, and it's also the slave leader. So they're have them at gunpoint, and they're basically transporting the slave off planet. I forget what alien types the slavers were. I pictured them as Trandoshans, but maybe they weren't. I don't know. And the slave leader is Glarb. So the slaves actually take control of the slave leaders. They kill a bunch of them. There's a big shootout in the Falcon, and all the fire alarm goes off. And there's this like fire extinguisher that I think Bullock uses to mess around like during the fight to sort of like confuse some of the slavers.
Bullocks and Blue Max continue to be phenomenal. We didn't really talk about them, but they're kind of just consistently great, and I'm very disappointed that they don't really pop up again. I like New Jedi Order would have been a perfect place for them, and they just don't, and that's really sad.
Should have been with Roa.
Well, for most of the book, the Falcon's been equipped with fluidic components, which which they're not pleased about, and but really they had no other option because they were on a relatively primitive planet. And
sorry, I just want to mention Contemplate a Reader. He's got a channel. He's very awesome. He remembers his older brother owning this book when it first came out in '79. We were starved for Star Wars content before Empire. I mean, yeah, I think everyone was. Really, you had the Marvel comics and you had these books, and maybe the Lando books. No, Lando books were after.
That was 83 or 4, right?
Yeah.
Right,
So
it was after.
Really but definitely check him out. He does a lot of good book content, and I'm forgetting. There's a lot of different. I forget what he is, but he's a Christian denomination. I'm blanking on it right now, but he's a something in there. So apologies.
Maybe you can let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
I'm a terrible person. I'm forgetting. Luthurian. There we go. He's really cool though. He's a really cool guy. I really like his content, even though I can't remember what he was.
So Alex's madness aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after that mission, Han still wants to get paid because the whole deal was he was supposed to get 10,000 credits for going to this planet. He still ended up transporting the slaves, even though the slaves got away. So he tries to meet the contact in this bar. Sorry, go ahead, Robert.
Well, they they tried to make him take this job, and he said, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with transporting slaves. And then Zlab, I think his name was,
Right.
he and his people took control of the ship and went, you're doing this, whether you like it or not. And
they were already on the ship by the time Han figured it out, so he was kind of stuck doing it by that time. But yes, you're right, they did take over the ship, even though Han protested.
What did we think of that like sequence when they took over the ship and all that stuff? I liked it, but towards the end it started to get a little bit convoluted. What was going on for me?
It was meant to be funny, I think, because it was Blue Max gets a hold of a fire extinguisher and starts spraying the thing, and there's like this foam nonsense going on. I think it was supposed to be humorous, but
yeah, I think that was
I think he scomps into the fire suppression systems or something.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Han kills Glarb. That's when they first use the disruptor pistol, I think, or maybe one of the slaves shoots him, and they figure out that their payment was supposed to be at a contact in a bar, and I thought that bar scene was a lot better. That's one of the first ones in the book. But there's when they go to this table, so Han and Chewie go and sit down and sort of monitor this table that they're supposed to meet their contact at. And Fiola, that's how she's introduced in the book, goes and sits down, even though the table's reserved. And there's this staff person that works there that sort of gets like upset at her, and he's waving his arms and has 5 or 6 arms. I forget what. And Fiola kind of mocks him, and the way that's written is really funny, you know.
That sequence was a lot of fun. That character with the the 100 arms or whatever, that was like I feel like at some point, if you can't do the job to this level, like, you would just get canned.
Right.
If you're this incapable of doing this, like, this seems like it's just cruel. This guy can't do this job.
I think that was a different guy later on, right?
It was, yes, but they're all incompetent. Like throughout, like all the staff people at all the bars and restaurants, like can't do their job. So the other guy that Robert was referring to is when Fiola and Han take public transportation out, because I guess they were worried about getting caught by the corporate sector authority, and so Fiola is investigating the slaver ring. But she kind of wants to use Han to go undercover because she thinks the corporate sector authority leadership is involved in the slaving ring. So she doesn't want to tip them off. She wants to kind of do this on the down low. And they go and take public transportation, and they sit down at a restaurant during, I don't know, it's like a cruise line, or I don't know how they describe it. But one of the staff persons is an alien, and he says it's his first day on the job. He has trouble distinguishing all of the humans from one another, and he says, like, all of the humans have been walking out on their bar tabs because he can't tell like one from the other, and he's like so confused. And I think he refers to Fiola as a man the first time because he just doesn't know. And when Chewie goes and sits down with, was it Spray? He thinks, oh, you have a very beautiful hatchling or something, thinking that Spray is Chewbacca's kid. I was like, that is so funny.
I love that guy. That guy. I kind of forgot where he was in the book. But yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. So Spray's introduced. He tries to repossess the Falcon because it's explained over and over again that Han and Chewie don't have any money. And they took out all this debt, and there was a lien against the Falcon at some point that he didn't pay back. So Fiola, when she first meets Han, she's sort of having to bail him out, like pay their bar tabs and pay their restaurant tabs because they're broke. They're absolutely penniless. And Spray, this guy, tries to repossess the Falcon. It turns out he's actually the corporate sector authority leadership guy that's undercover. He's a territorial leader, territorial manager, I forget what. He's like one of the only non-humans that has a corporate sector authority leadership role. and I guess he does that to try to investigate the slaver ring, but that whole part kind of gets confusing. Like there's a lot of twists and turns that are meant to be interesting in the book, but at the end I think there were a little bit too many that I couldn't keep track.
And
I love
it's
the
not like
scene
this guy
where,
comes back. It's not like this guy is some, he just
But
it was
I
kind
love
of
the
funny
scene.
in the moment. It was fun, but at the end, when it's like, oh, this guy he was the real deal the whole time. I was like,
yeah, they call him a skip tracer. So there's a lot of
Yes.
nicknames that they have for things. I couldn't help but wondering, the pirates, when they get attacked by pirates, the pirate fighters are called pinnace fighters, which I don't think show up very often later on. I think they're in a couple things like Star Wars Rebellion or Galaxy of War or something, but is that supposed to be a joke or something? I guess it's a boating term, but I thought Dailey was trying to input some humor there.
well, it's a boating term in the same way like poop deck is a boating term. But if you name it a poop deck fighter,
Yeah.
I love the scene where Chewbacca meets Spray. He's so obnoxious in the best way.
apparently he's supposed to be a little rat guy, which
Yes.
is fun. I like little rat guys.
Yeah, he was kind of cross between like a rabbit and a duck or something, because he at one point he goes swimming and he's like frolicking in the
Maybe he's an
water.
otter. Could be.
But maybe he's an otter. I don't know, but they say he has buck teeth, he has really bad eyesight, and he's like going through these his notes when he's trying to repossess the Falcon, saying, "I have it under the authority of this lien here." And he has this all this like background that it turns out to be a complete lie at the end of the book, but it's like you went through all that to look like a bumbling idiot.
And then,
Yeah, it's like, what if the reveal of Yoda was lame? In my opinion,
Yeah.
it was like you like to find out he's like the corporate sector guy. That was it just didn't land. It just didn't land. Even though he had some funny scenes. So
yes, when Chewbacca's trying to intimidate him and it just doesn't work, and he's not quite sure what to make of this. He goes, "This usually works. I'm not sure what's happening here." And the thing that does end up working is just him picking up Spray and placing his face directly in front of his and just giving him the death stare. And
Right. Like, who in their right mind would go up to a ship and think they could repossess it in front of a Wookiee? Like, is this guy who's not very intimidating physically is gonna take over a Wookiee? Like, I know that they're on a planet that doesn't allow blasters, and there's supposed to be like a high corporate sector authority police presence there, but still, I mean, it doesn't seem like a very good thing. There's a lot of points where he could have got killed personally.
Especially if, like, in universe as it's been established, in the only thing that anybody's seen, which is New Hope, Wookiees are known for ripping people's arms off. That's the one thing we're told in A New Hope. That's the one thing that they have to go on.
Yeah.
This book.
And another point about Spray is, like, okay, he's coming to repossess the Falcon. He's portrayed as a bad guy at first, and then when they make this deal where like Phil is going to pay half the lien up front and then half the lien later when they complete the mission, but he has to be part of the crew to come along to ensure like the Falcon doesn't go anywhere and they don't run off with it. So he turns out to be a good guy for a while, and then it's revealed later on, oh, he's a bad guy. He's the person that tried to jump Han in the spaceport, and I think Han bit him at one point, and then he has a part where he doesn't have fur on his hand, and that's how Fiola like finds out, oh yeah, you're a traitor. So it's like, that's kind of weird. You went through all that trouble to investigate Han. It doesn't quite follow. But Andrew Helm thinks that it's the strongest book in the trilogy. I'm curious as to why.
Interesting.
I would like to hear like expansion on that, Andrew. I'd like to know
Yeah,
your
give us
opinion.
your thoughts.
I've not read the third one, so I can't say which was my favorite so far.
All I can say is that one is going to be more like what you would feel the Lando books are like. So
From read
a little bit more, not as, but
Okay.
definitely more leaning that direction.
Okay, well that's okay.
This is where we get the lore of Zin the Despot, though, which is also an untapped era of the expand universe. So
that is very cool. To bounce off something that Scott said, I feel like maybe there was like a desire or an attempt to have this be like a more morally ambiguous character, this Spray guy, but it doesn't really work because the main characters are smugglers and pirates. So like having this like corporate goon be like switching allegiances or whatever, like who cares? Like,
I always think the trope with pirates and smugglers and stuff is like, yeah, they're doing illegal things, but it's sort of like the crime family, like mafia thing, where it tends to be, but their word, despite their I guess their career is their bond. Like if they promise to do this thing for you, yeah, they're selling drugs, but they're going to make that delivery to you. They're making that promise, you know? So the idea of like a corporate man being the slimy guy who says one thing, but then goes behind your back, maybe sort of the idea of like, yeah, you know, we're pirates and smugglers, but at least we keep the end of our deals, you know?
That's fair. That's fair. It's just I don't feel like I feel like it was it ended up feeling a little bit convoluted
No,
by
that's
the
fair.
end.
I'm just saying that might have been the intent.
Sure, yeah, no, that's fine.
The twists and turns were interesting, but it got to the point where at the end of the book there was way too many. It was one lead to the other, and it was like, okay, that was all a trick to begin with.
It was a little bit convoluted. I think Spray still works as like a sort of like comic relief, as a not I guess antagonist still. He's not like, you know, he's not like Darth Vader or whatever, but he's still like pushing the heroes and this stuff. It was still fun. It was just I don't think we needed almost any of that, to be honest.
To be honest, I could have done without it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the interesting characters, I think, were Fiola and Galandro. Those were the memorable characters, and I remember those even from 25 years ago.
Andrew says there was so much development and action in it, such a relatively short novel. He doesn't think it was too convoluted.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So I was actually so on Galandro.
Oh,
I really liked Galandro, but that's fair. But I'm also maybe basing my memory off of Lost Legacy. That might make a bit of my love of him. So I'll take that back with a grain of salt, because I don't know if what I read in this book is enough to justify how much I like him. So it might just be that residual memory of the other book.
I liked Galandro. I wasn't in love with Galandro. I thought, oh, he's a cool character, but this is something like, oh, I want to see more, not like So that I yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. He kind of turns out, because at first he says he's an agent of one of the other clans person, because they're on this planet that has a whole bunch of clans, and the whole duel was based on one of the royal families slapped one of the other royal families.
I think.
And Galandro. Oh, did Galandro do that?
Yeah, I think he did.
But it was like prearranged, because they wanted to get rid of this guy through the duel. And then when Han steps in and Han says he's going to fight in his spot, well, it doesn't make sense, because the whole point of the duel was to take out this one clan leader, right?
Yeah.
That's why they like backtracked on it at the last second. Like, instead of having like, oh, this cool sequence, it's like,
yeah.
Justin Neely is another YouTuber who reviews just literature in general. He says he's like Al. He's read the Han Solo trilogy by A.C. Crispin, but not read these. So I wanted to say you should read them. They're pretty good, and a lot of A.C. Crispin's books, a lot of her characters and stuff are directly taken from this and expanded upon. So
I will say that as someone who is a little bit dreading this, just because I like the Lando books, but they are very strange and they don't feel like the Star Wars that I enjoy. and also was not crazy about what was it? Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I was a little bit hesitant about these books. I will say they're really good. They feel like they're in line with the other Star Wars books. That's partially because they inspired the later Star Wars books. I would give these a try. I enjoyed these enough to be like, I'm glad I read them.
The Lando books will be interesting since we've both read, or all three of us. I don't know if Scott's read the parts of Supernatural Encounters that include the Mind Arper Sharu and stuff, but it'll be interesting just having that context in there.
I'm gonna have to go back and reread that stuff. It's been so long.
Right? Still, yeah, it's been 2 years or 3 years now, almost. It's been a while.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't want to hear that.
Okay. Since you're more well versed on that, Alex, maybe you can clue us in when we do cover those, all the implications, not just in the book, specifically, but the later revelations that are expanded upon the already convoluted lore that's in the Lando trilogy to begin with.
Yes. we're going to need some diagrams. We're going to make some charts and tables and things for the audience. It's going to be cool. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Andrew says he wasn't too taken with the Lando books. They just have the Star Wars feel. I agree. I think the most Star Wars about it is purely Lando himself. That feels ripped straight out of the movies.
It was awesome.
And Vufi Ra, two the best companions ever. Everything surrounding them, bizarre.
I think it felt like Star Wars, but like the Star Wars of Ewoks, which is cool and fun. I actually really like Ewoks, but it's weird and it's slightly dumb. Maybe not even slightly. Maybe it's very dumb. Yeah. But it's fun.
They did it first. He did it first. For Disney. Anyway, well, that's later. That's this one, Galandro.
So, going back to Zlob for a moment, we learn that he's a Malkite poisoner.
Okay. So that is the poison that killed one of the guy that Han stepped in for in the duel. Like his father was killed.
Yeah.
And I think that was the backstory on how he got poisoned. Because Han says, oh, you got to check your taste testers because they'll give the taste testers the antidote, but they'll really poison the food. You'll get the poison and you won't have the antidote. Like Han figures that out really quickly. I was like, how did you know that?
That's another one. It was like, okay, that's.
Did I miss something? It's not even
that complicated, but the way they explain it is just like, oh, and this and this and this. It's like,
well, it's just out of the blue. It's like, the pacing to explain that at that point of the story just didn't make sense for me. That could have been at some other part of the story.
It's all kind of like rushed out.
So maybe he ran out of pages because the way this book ends, Galandro sort of takes control of the Falcon, but then Han gets the blaster away, and then the book just ends. You know, it doesn't really resolve. Like they still have Galandro and Fiola aboard. It's like, where is this going? You automatically go to the next book, whereas there's a time gap between Han Solo at Star's End and this book. At least there seems to be some element of a time gap.
Yeah, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the ending, just because it, like you said, Scott, it felt like we had unresolved business. Like, the book's not over.
Where's the rest of it? I was expecting more chapters after this, you know, and it just ends. It's like, okay, well, I have the 3-in-1, so I guess it makes sense to read it as a trilogy. But there was a space
when
between
they came out
first
as singles. That must have been annoying.
But and like, there was enough of a gap between the first and the second book. There's no gap, I don't think, between the second and the third.
Star's End is a standalone. You can't really read Revenge as a standalone.
How much does Lost Legacy figure for you guys, like who have read it? Is Lost Legacy a direct follow-up?
I think so.
I don't think it's a direct. I think maybe a few weeks pass. I don't know. I forget. But like, it's not immediately starting after.
Or Spree, whatever his name is.
Because I don't think Han starts with the Falcon in that one. I don't remember.
I'll have to read it. Tune in next time to find out after we read it.
I've only read it twice.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
So, what did we think about Fiola?
I like
She's
her.
okay.
She was good.
We, I assume this is what introduces the Lordians.
Yes,
Would have to be.
It's true.
she is.
It's
She is
true.
from Lord, which they do mention. The Lordians were freed by the Jedi. I don't think it's necessarily during the Clone Wars, but it's like sometime in the Old Republic. Like the Jedi freed their people because they used to be enslaved and did mining or something. But they have a very good way of impersonating people or doing impressions.
Yes,
And that's how Fiola was able to sort of mock the bartender or the waitress there with a
Yes,
whole bunch of arms.
they developed
It can't.
this.
Andrew says there's a significant gap between the 3 novels. It can't be that significant because Rebel Dream by A.C. Crispin, she uses like maybe a 1-year gap. I don't think it's that long, but she uses that year gap to basically give a summary of all 3 of these books in between her own book. There's
Rebel
no
Dawn.
way it's
Yeah.
that much time.
According to the book,
Rebel
it's
Dawn,
like
sorry.
they all take place between 2 and 1 BBY.
Yeah,
So-
so it
Right.
has to be just 1 year. So it can't be that long of a gap. First one and the second book, it could be months apart, but the second one and third one have to happen relatively
if-
close to one another.
If I remember right, all 3 of these books by Brian Dailey happen during Rebel Dawn.
Yes. There's literally a like so the book so Rebel Dawn just starts following Lando and what's her name? Bria there for like a chapter or
For a
two.
little bit, while Han and Chewie are on these
They go
adventures.
through, they list out like what happens to Han. It's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it seems like, especially these points in the book, I don't know if we talked about Roa yet, but Roa just appears while they're using this public transport. Han just runs into him and says, "Oh, how you been?" or whatever, because he was one of Han's smuggling buddies, and it mentioned they had first done the Kessel Run with Roa,
Which we then get to see in A.C.
which
Crispin's book.
again happens in the A.C. Crispin trilogy. But Han sort of lies to him and says, "Oh yeah, I've gone straight. I'm not doing any illegal activities anymore." I forget what he makes up the story, but he says he's repossessing ships or something legally.
And
then Roa's wife.
How are the rest of the guys? Oh yeah, they're all dead.
No, he goes into like way too much detail about how each person, like each old friend that he asks about what happened to him. Like one guy lost all of his organs or something and he's on life support on this one planet. One guy got shot to pieces at this planet. One guy's like spending life in prison. I think it's meant to be funny, but it's crazy story.
Now I didn't go back and look. Did anybody are any of those names from A.C. Crispin, or was she like?
I think some of them are name dropped in New Jedi Order in the in the books that James Luceno wrote.
Okay.
Yes, the Agents of Chaos duology.
Yes. I like that scene because and Fiola realizes this in the moment.
Fair enough, Andrew.
It illustrates the fact that what Han and Chewie do, it's not a safe profession, and yeah, in
there's a lot of ways to get arrested.
Force Awakens, it's several decades later, and they're still doing this, but realistically, they're unlikely to live to an old age while still being smugglers. They are, unless they get out of it at some point.
Disney says they do.
Almost definitely going to. Yeah.
Sorry.
But you definitely get the feel that Han's been doing this for a long time. Whereas, at least at the beginning of the A.C. Crispin's books, Han's very young and is just getting his feet wet in a lot of ways. But
the entire trilogy is baked in Brian Dailey's books. Sorry, just wanted to
Well,
get that out there.
they add origins to a lot of these characters, and again, she has like, I think it's Han like thinking about the events of these books in like the shower or something. It was a little bit, it was
I
like
love
straight,
that.
but it was like recounting the events. Like
Another cool thing that I talked to you guys about before we started streaming, but I think would be good to mention now, just in case anybody doesn't know, like Dustin might not know, the young adult books, Young Jedi Knights, have the daughter of the villain in this story pop up to deal with the next generation of with some
was
of
her
Han's
name?
kids.
It was Anja
Anja
Galandro.
Landro,
Yeah. So
something like
she
that.
in the Young Jedi Knights has this spice addiction problem. She's a friend
And she
of
wants revenge
Jason and
on
Jaina.
Han and the kids because she thinks Han killed her dad, which I won't say anything about that. You have to read the next book to find out. But that's her belief, is that Han killed her dad. So she wants revenge on that. So
She was a very fun character.
she was
Yes.
a very fun character.
Liked her a lot.
But so that just shows, again, as we go through this, whether you read chronologically, you read publication-wise, or you're going in and out, whenever you become an EU fan and you start diving in, you start to notice how much everything, whether by coincidence or by extreme intention, everything really is quite connected in a very kind of beautiful way. 30 plus
Yes.
years of continuity, and there's flops in there and there's mistakes made, but there's so much that just fits like a glove. Like an AC Crispin's a perfect example of someone who took all this stuff and just made it seamless. And that can't be said for every franchise out there. So I think that's a very beautiful thing. So
It made it
gives a
seamless,
reason
and is
to invest
also
your
is
time.
really good. That's the other thing we have to say is like, because it could be like seamless and like suck, but it's like AC Crispin's books are really good. These books are really good. So you're not just getting like a tightly wound story. You're also getting a good story, which is key to mention.
Even AC Crispin wasn't allowed the Chewbacca origin story, so that's one thing that she couldn't do. That was completely off limits. So she didn't have exactly the free reign as some people might expect her to. But I think with these books, with the Brian Dailey trilogy, you have to read them with the idea that at one point this was the only extra story, or one of the only extra stories that existed. So it really sets the scene. Don't go in expecting star by star, because like you're going to be disappointed, but there are a lot of good moments. I think it's more bits and pieces that are gems rather than the whole book.
I think a good comparison is like if you Halloween was yesterday, and if let's say you love vampires like me, I love vampires, but you watch the new Nosferatu. If you go back and you watch the original 1922 Nosferatu, number one, it's in black and white. Number two, it has no sound. It's a silent movie, but you see the foundation of where all this other stuff comes from. You see the vampires can't go out in the sun. That comes from that movie. Vampires look like little really rat people. That comes from that movie. They spread plague. That's mostly in just that movie, but other things have done that. That is the same thing here. You see the foundation of the EU. You see where the inspiration for how to write these stories comes from. It is the most primitive version of the expanded universe that we know, but it is still there. You still see the DNA. That's what I would tell new readers. Keep in mind is like, this is not the thing you will recognize for the most part, but you see where it'll go. You see where it all leads.
Whereas the later books, they more build upon the direction of where the Star Wars story is going. These are just adventures about Han Solo. Doesn't necessarily change his character or have any significance outside these stories, but they're fun adventures to enjoy by themselves, and they set the stage for a lot of things that happen later on. In particular, I think some of the humor reoccurs later on with the Tales from Jabba's Palace and Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina. I think it's the same sort of like, oh, all these aliens are are weird. They have these weird jobs and these backstories where you could say like, oh, this Gamorrean guard, yeah, he got sold into slavery and now he's working at Jabba's palace. But he writes home and tells him what a good time he's having at Jabba's palace, like all the parties and like unlimited food and all this stuff. And the same type of humor is present in Brian Dailey here.
I think both Revenge and Star's End both do a good job of conveying facets of Han's personality and who he is and what he's like as a person that you don't necessarily see in A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this book, we learn that he's very much not okay with slavery. That's nice to see.
So did this book establish the Chewie backstory? Or was that the previous one? They're starting to bleed together a little bit.
Which Chewie backstory?
Chewie was formerly a slave. Was that in here, or was that?
I don't remember it being in there.
I don't think that was in either of these.
Okay, just making sure. I was like,
I think that the fact that Han's not okay with slavery goes back to the idea of how and why he set up this holodrama business, because he was trying to go straight. Like, yeah, he'll take the smuggling job because it pays 10,000 credits or whatever. For one, slavery is very illegal in the corporate sector authority, and the punishment's like execution. So he didn't want to get wrapped up in all this, and he got upset because they lied to him. Like, they didn't tell him that this was a slaving job and that you're going to use my ship, the Millennium Falcon, to transport these people there. No way. I'm not going along with it.
Okay. So I transposed that. Okay. All right. I got mixed up there.
Yeah. But again, Chewie, I think it's assumed, it's not necessarily said explicitly in this story, but throughout some of the other Star Wars lore, Wookiees are slaves. It's not a stretch to deduce that Chewbacca was also a slave at one point.
Yeah.
Is there anything else particularly that anybody enjoyed? Because we kind of been talking about the stuff, the stranger stuff, or anything like that.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular you guys enjoyed? Go for it.
So, something about Fiola that I found quite interesting, aside from the fact that she's from Lord and we learn all about them and the fact that they're very good at imitating other people and other species, and they're also highly perceptive to body language, micro expressions, all that. But the other thing that I found quite interesting about her is that she's quite high up in the corporate sector, but she's actually quite idealistic. She believes in the idea that if she secures a high enough position, then she can instigate positive change within the authority. And Spray feels this way as well, or at least he claims to. And I think the way he puts it is, he says to Han, you on your own with an organization the size of the corporate sector authority, you will never do appreciable damage. And at least this way, there's a chance that we could possibly make some sort of positive change within the thing itself. Is that true? Is that realistic? I don't know, but they're welcome to try.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fiola was a big highlight. I thought she was a lot of fun. There were little hints at maybe, but there wasn't anything like concrete, which I like. I think Han has enough love interests, most of which aren't very good.
Yeah. I think it's because Han's, it's Harrison Ford. So whether it be Han, whether it be
Well, that's
Indiana Jones, he's got to have potential love interests, if not actual. So in every
like
story.
Bria is probably the best one that is not Leia.
Rita's the
of course.
only one that can be considered like an actual one outside of
Yeah,
Leia, I think.
but
Everyone
like
else can
Leia's
be a
also has other
thing,
things
but-
going on. But in
Yeah.
terms of just like there to serve like Han's story, Bria's really good. I like her a lot. And then, so like, does Sala Zen count? Was she with Han in the yeah? Like she was pretty good, but not
And Zevary, right? Wasn't Zevary
I think so.
a former flame of Han? And then there's the girl at the bar at Jenny or something at
There's a lot. We
the-
could,
the,
There was
There's a lot of
also-
we could
girls
go
that
down
he's
a
at least
long
had flings
list.
with, if not
There was
outright
also the
relationship.
woman who appeared in The Long Hunt, the first annual in the Marvel series,
right.
Right.
who unfortunately
he's the Star Wars equivalent to Nightwing. He's got all these love interests, and only like one is any good. And it's the main one. It's that one.
It's clear that Han was interested in Fiola because there's hints like throughout as they're traveling
Definitely
together
flirty.
that
Especially at
she's
the end, there was a little bit. There's a little something there.
you winked at him or he winked at her. I forget what, but then she doesn't appear in the third book. That's
Yeah.
it. She's in Priority X of the Star Wars Gamer magazine, and there might be some other stories about her in the West End Games Corporate Sector Authority source book. That's something we might need to look at, Alex, after we finish up this trilogy.
We should do that. We
See
should talk
if
at least
there's
talk about
anything
that
else.
in the third.
Yeah,
part.
I forget if there's any extra. There might just be like summarizations of everything that happened in the trilogy, maybe a little bit more backstory on some of the planets. But yeah, Fiola's for me. I mean, she was a memorable character. Like when I think of this trilogy, I think of Fiola and Galandro.
Yeah,
those are the two that stuck out.
And then the droids, Bullocks and Boomai.
Yeah,
those are like the three that come to mind when somebody brings up Brian Dailey. It's like Han Solo trilogy. So
I'm trying to think of like things outside of Fiola and the droids, or something from this book that I really enjoyed, like on its own.
Kill us alive.
As our servant arc, we get Mandoa and Quarian this time.
Yeah. I love the Quarians. I always choose Tally whenever I play Mass Effect. It's the only right answer.
Same.
Whenever someone says to Han that he's in danger, he always has like a really silly, witty reply. And I can't remember the specifics of what he said, but he had some really good comeback lines that were very funny throughout some of the battles with the pirates and whatnot.
The dialogue was really good. Yeah.
The best part of this is the humor, but I think after the point where they're on the planet with the warring clans, that the duel almost happens and then doesn't happen. After that point, I don't think there was any point in that book that I was really impressed with going forward.
I tend to agree. I still enjoyed it overall, but I would say it was a big step down from the.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Star's End just had a lot more going for it in terms of the plot and everything, and it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't anywhere near what the last one was. So
you know what I did quite like? This is a relatively small thing, but when Han ordered a drink and the bottle was this, it had LED lights around the neck or something, and it had the.
Yeah, it was like the most extra bottle of all time. It was just like, how do we make this into a space thing?
I think he took it because that's when Fiola told him to meet me at the spaceport or the docking bay 10 minutes later, and he grabs a drink to like go with him. And I think he was planning on using it as a weapon. He's like, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to smash you with this bottle or something. And he has this joke where if I'm going to take your money, I'm going to at least like buy you a drink or leave you a drink or something.
That's pretty good.
I just love the image of Han ordering this drink and looking at this bottle and going, "Yep, thank you. I hate this."
It's like the wine equivalent to light up Skechers or whatever. It's just like the most disgusting thing you've ever seen. That's pretty sick. I like that.
All right, Nazo went to the Legends Expo, so he got to talk to James Luceno, and he says that Brian Dailey understood Han Solo well. So,
That's very
I think
true.
that's one thing just by reading it. So
That's very true. In fact, Robert was sort of getting at the point where Han like sort of develops his character a little bit too quickly at certain points. For case in point, where he steps in for the person doing the duel, he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." You know, he's very quick to get himself in a dangerous situation to protect somebody else.
I think that's always been kind of true. I feel when we get to the movie, it's if you look at it in terms of the entire expanded universe, if you count all the stories as a build up to the movies and everything interspersed, if you look at it that way, then everything leading up to the movie is kind of like stepping stones to his eventual growth in those movies. And so he wants to help. He does want to help, but he hides behind the fact that he doesn't. And by the time we get to episode 4, he's really trying to push back on, no, I can't do this. This isn't my responsibility. But he's shown time and time again to himself, I do, so ultimately when we get to the, oh, you want to say something? I was just going to, so when we get to the Death Star, it was inevitable. We've seen it through these books and through other places that he does want to help. So
I wrote this bit about comparing Catwoman to Han Solo in that they themselves don't. I know I'm such a fucking nerd. But they both see themselves, and everyone around them sees them as criminals, and like that's it. It is like they don't deserve the chance. And that's what holds them back beforehand, especially with Han, is like the perceptions of other people and things of that nature, and how he perceives himself in that context. But then you introduce Batman or Luke Skywalker or Leia or Robin and these other characters who can see that's not the whole story here, especially Luke, especially Batman. They don't believe.
And Luke is basically
Luke
the Batman Superman of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So he brings the best out of people.
He brings the best out, and he forces on. Is like, this isn't right. You don't want to leave these people behind or whatever. And it's like, oh, watch
because you're right. I don't. Shut up. Don't
and then, but then he comes back. That to me is really powerful. It's one of the reasons why Han is one of my favorite characters. Why I love Catwoman so much is they have this rough exterior. This whole I'm only in it for me. I'm only in it for the money. But when the chips are down, Han is not going to let that Imperial officer beat Chewbacca. Catwoman is not going to let the Joker drop a building on Robin. That is what they are deep down inside for real.
Luke is more Superman of Star Wars. I mentioned Batman only because Superman doesn't really have a Catwoman equivalent. I mean, I guess maybe Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor just hates him. So
I'm sure I could come up with something if you gave me like 10 minutes, but for this comparison, Luke and Batman are the characters. I had this whole long thing that I wrote up about Catwoman and Batman, and then but anyway,
in the context of this
essay sometime that you've written for yourself.
In the context of this book, I think it helps that there's this 10,000 credits waiting that Han wants to get his hands on, and that is his motivation and also excuse. Yes.
Mara is like Lois Lane if she had a lightsaber.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this book. There was one other fun scene with Fiona and Han where they're on this cruise ship, which is Queen of Mendor, which I think a reference to Luke Skywalker in the Shadows of Mendor. They're also they're at this arcade and they put coins in, and there's this game. I think it's supposed to be Battleship, but it's the Star Wars equivalent. So not only do they talk about Dejarik here, and they talk about Sabacc and the Lando trilogy, but there's also these like arcade games in the ship that I don't think are used much else in the expanded universe, but it was a good idea. I kind of liked it.
It was
Is
fun.
the same ship you just mentioned also isn't that in Agents of Chaos? Or am I thinking of a different ship?
I thought it was Queen of the Empire.
Something,
probably
something
right.
like that.
But I thought it was
Yeah.
I
like
think
renamed.
was Queen of the Empire in the Jedi in the Kyle Katarn books.
Yes. Yeah, it's in
Okay.
the audio drama,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely in the
yeah.
audio drama. I don't remember about the books, but
I don't. It's been
because
too
I know the
long since I
audio
read it.
is a little different, but
Yeah.
I know for sure it's in the audio.
Yeah.
The audio is
So-
really good. I like those a lot.
Yes, they are better than the
but-
games. But the games are fun because you get to see those little cutscenes.
My version
I love the
of
games.
of that is I watch the cutscenes and then I listen to the audio thing and I'm like, it's close enough. Anyway, I also don't have anything else to say about this other than it's pretty good, but it has some issues.
Yep, that's fair.
I'm kind of looking forward to the next one, I guess. Sure.
A lot of lore stuff with the Zim to look forward to, and then Morgalandro is cool. I always
What
like
is the next thing
Morgalandro.
we're doing though, Alex? That is the real question.
That is an excellent question. I don't have the thing.
I
don't
think
think it's Lost Legacy though. I think there's a couple of things before.
I thought it was Lost Legacy.
I mean, we
You
could
might
just
be.
do Lost
I'm not
Legacy.
sure. It's either Lost Legacy or like a couple comics, but it might just be Lost Legacy.
I think it might be in the next batch of Marvel issues.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm okay if we.
But if
just
you guys
do
really
Lost
wanted to,
Legacy
we
and
could just do Lost Legacy.
Yeah,
we
I'm
could just
fine with that.
scoop around the timeline just a little bit because I know we're a little fatigued of comic books for a little bit.
I think we should finish off the trilogy. So next episode, let's do Lost Legacy.
We'll
Sounds good to me.
go out of chronological. We'll go out of the publication order for a second just to get that done.
Just because.
But just so you know, whatever comics we discuss for the following 2 weeks or however it works is actually before Han Solo.
Yeah, and I don't think we're missing much really. It's
No.
That's only if you got the comics on the day of release, which I don't think anybody did it in those days.
Yeah. So, but what was I going to say?
Does anyone have any final thoughts?
I think I gave mine. Scott, you got anything else you want?
I'd rate it. I want to say 6 out of 10, but that seems a little harsh.
6.
I don't know. It's hard to rate this overall because it does have very good moments, but I don't want to say they're few and far between, but they are gems. When they are there, it's really fun to read. The overarching plot in the book as a whole, I don't think is as good as people hold it up to be.
Like Matt. Just kidding.
Yeah. Well, not just Matt. I mean, I think
a lot of people.
These are
fandom at large. Yeah.
This is popular among like the older generation of EU readers, like the people who were reading actively in the 90s. I've noticed is like
it's not a bad book by any means.
With Luke Skywalker in the Shadows of Mindor, wasn't Stover deliberately sort of riffing on this sort of thing?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that came out in the 2000s.
Yeah, but it was designed in the Brian Dailey style, so I think it used incorporations. Oh, here's a planet we can use that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's easy though. That one's not very good.
I'd say about 85% of the EU is probably better than that film. So there is about 10% that sucks though in the EU that I will give the movie, but that's gonna be few and far between.
Ruins of Dantooine.
It's up there.
Yeah, Ruins of Dantooine. That's one of them. Siege and Gambit is another one. I can't wait to rip that apart.
That's gonna be fun. I want to talk with you about Mandalorian Wars or whatever that was, Bounty Hunter Wars, because you're but I've not read them, so I don't know. So I want to read them, and maybe I don't agree with Alex. Maybe I'll be the defender, bro.
Maybe you'll love them. Some people do.
I feel like I'm usually the negative Nancy on this board. So
there's like a couple good.
I just don't like my time being wasted. But that's a separate discussion for another time.
A couple good aspects of the first book and the.
No, there are. Like I really like this whole stuff. We're gonna get off, guys, soon.
Yeah.
Okay. I really liked a lot of aspects of the first book, like the whole idea of like the bounty hunters like fighting each other and stuff, and there being these rules in play. All that's really cool. There's a really cool spider dude. Okay, really cool. Zizor shows up, and that is cool until it's not. But we'll get to that like years from now, whenever we reach the 90s.
Be a long time.
So also, if you wanted a book to explain to you like Boba Fett, like what's his personality like, what's he all about, you're not getting that from this. You're getting it's kind of Brian Dailey, except there's no excuse in the 90s. You just get more of the same, which is his 5 lines of dialogue and that's his character in these books. So anyway, we're gonna get off of that. I feel about the same about Han Solo's Revenge. I think it's fine. I don't think it's as good as the last one. It's nowhere near A.C. Crispin's books, but I don't think it was trying to be, and I don't think it had the potential to be anyway. But I do think the aspects, like Scott said, that are really good are really, really good, which I think I don't do number rankings. I always kind of do either net positive, net negative, or net neutral, where my stance is right down the middle. And I think it is a net positive because I think a truly neutral book would have me very apathetic. And as Kreia always says, apathy is death. And I think there's enough here for me to look at it in a positive light. But I also know there are things that far surpass this one as well. So I think they're good, but not phenomenal and not great.
Yes.
So that's my overall thoughts on this book. I really like Galandro, and I love Bullocks and Blue Max. They're kind of exactly the same here, so I don't have anything to add on their characters other than they continue to be fantastic, and that's really it. They don't have any real development in these books. They kind of just remain the same. So that's why we didn't really talk about them all in this book. So
I do have one thing I want to quickly add. This isn't about the book, but the Malachite poisoners, they manufactured the droid that in Attack of the Clones, the one with the poisonous centipedes.
Oh, interesting. That Zam Wesell uses, right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's neat.
But yeah, I know Scott's got to go, so we'll end this very soon. Somebody earlier mentioned the holiday special. Just want to let you all know, in case some of you who are new here don't know, we have discussed that. So if you want to hear us talk about it, it's
one of our best episodes, in my opinion.
It is probably one of our best episodes.
I'm proud of that one. I really like that one. That one was a lot of fun.
And we have Brendan come on for a little bit to try to defend it. So we got all sides of opinions on that one in the video. So it was good.
That was a good.
Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you with Han Solo, Lost Legacy. Did I say that? Yeah. Till then. And we're still live.